welcome to another episode of Beer Talks. We are here at 1912 in Tucson with Allan. Welcome. We're super excited. We had the privilege of brewing a beer this morning with you guys, which you'll get to see all this amazing footage. This guy did some work this morning.
Put in the sweat equity, right?
I saw quite a few. You're like, just shoveling grain and doing everything.
Free work.
Yeah, he thought he was going to get out of mash out.
Yeah.
Carlos was like, nah, get up there.
Yeah, it was a great day. Great day. Things went well.
It was really good. Quick brew, no problems.
Yeah.
Which is always good on a brew day,
right? Hopefully it turns out as smooth as...
Oh, I think so. It's going to be a nice little milkshake sour.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait to try it. It's coming. But it's really cool that we got to experience that, actually brew a beer from start to finish, and then we'll get to taste the end results for the Casual Pints 3-year anniversary.
Yep.
Should be really
End of
sweet.
October there.
Yes.
Yeah.
October, you guys are doing it the 24th?
The week of the 18th. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. 24th is the big day, I guess.
I can't wait. I want to make a mention because I can't get the smell out of my nose. Allan likes to put hop oil in the sanitizer, which this one's Centennial.
Centennial, yeah.
It's all our hands.
All of our hands
I
smell.
put a lot of hot oil in the sanitizer. it smelled pretty good. I mean, I love it. It's hard to get sanitizer right now, so you got to take what you can get. And man, it did not smell good going on the hands. I think I'd rather just run to the bathroom every time than use it before. So I had to do something.
Some of them are reeking like crazy tequila.
My mask now
Welch's.
it's just straight up. Yeah.
I thought it fit. We had some laying around. We didn't really like it in the product, so may as well use it, right? And it's a brewery. It fits.
Absolutely. Talk about, I know you've shared this a lot with people, but for some that haven't been to 1912 or only know a little bit about what we've showcased on our show or what they've seen here or there in the market, you have a really strong military background, and that is a lot of your culture and what you're about here. Talk to us about 1912.
Okay. Yeah, so at the age of 17, I joined the Marine Corps, spent 10 years, did a tour in Iraq, traveled the world, and really those are some of the closest friends, if not the brothers. Marines are a little bit different than the other services, to where we have that brotherhood that you may not know a Marine. How I see Marines when I go to Boston or whatever, and they're like, hey, Semper Fi, right? We'll walk by, and it's just a little bit different of once a Marine, always a Marine. We don't ever get out, right? It doesn't matter how old, broken, out of shape that we may be now. We always have that tradition. We like to bring it in. That's a big part of me. So we bring kind of that two aspects of my wife, and then the other side of that, being Latina, and then my side of the coin, bringing that military. We kind of bring those things together. It's the combination of those two things. You think would be in a little bit of conflict, but we just have a blast with it. Just there's such a heavy Latin culture in the Marine Corps anyway. From Puerto Ricans to Cubans, to Mexicans, all of that aspect. So we like to bring a little bit of that into our beer and our culture, just have fun with things. So.
You can definitely see it in the art, on your cans, which I love.
Here in the tap room, we got the military flags. And
absolutely.
It's there's all kinds of tributes and
yeah,
flags.
if you can't really see it on camera, but there's a nice little, we do a pay a pint forward program. So customers will buy a pint for a military first responder.
Yeah, that's
and when
awesome.
they come in and
Awesome.
redeem it. So it's a big fun. A lot of the guys don't like using it for some. We don't feel that. Hey, let's someone who's more deserving, give it to them. So we kind of have to prompt them to use it.
Well,
sometimes.
who's more deserving than somebody protecting our country?
Yeah, it's it's one of those things when we look at ourselves, we go do stuff, we go to Iraq, we go to Afghanistan. The term hero is kind of thrown around, and to us it's a little looser than what we would do, right? Our heroes are the guys that didn't come back.
Yeah.
And so we have that always in the back of the mind, even when we're getting a free beer, right? So it's just one of those things ingrained. So we do a lot of big things. We do celebrations for all the services, birthdays, Big Veterans Day, First Responders Day, and then our thing, the day before Veterans Day is the Marine Corps birthday, and we normally have a huge party for that. It's standing room only, big full-on pomp and circumstance, right? We have a big cake. We're all in blues for us that can still fit in them.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
then, you know, we have the oldest Marine, youngest Marine. Last year we had a Korean War Marine that was great.
Wow.
Corporal Dick.
Oh,
Corporal
okay.
Dick is what he went by. Obviously his name's Richard, but he likes Corporal Dick. Right? And he just had a blast. He just happened to meet the general's wife that was coming in. She's like, hey, you got to come. They met at Target.
At Target.
And that's the whole Marine thing, right? She's like, hey, there's this Marine brewery. They're having a birthday celebration. How long has it been since you've been to one? And he was like, well, it's been a long time. And so she brought him down, got tickets for it, and he had a blast. We didn't know he was going to be the
Cool.
oldest Marine, so it's kind of that surprise of bringing him in. So he had a good old time marching and drinking and eating cake. And a lot of
Nice.
fun.
Well, you have a collaboration, can I say it?
Yeah.
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 With Cider Corps coming up.
Yeah. So it'll be
for the event this year.
Yeah, so you know, Cider Corps, right? They're Marine owned as well, and so they did this fruit salad collaboration with Bottle Shop 48, and we liked it so much, and it sold so well here, and we're like, let's sour it, right? And so Jason and
No, let's
Josh,
sour it.
yeah, right, go figure, right? You hear that a lot. There's a lot of those drinking conversations. Hey, let's try and sour this, right? And we got together. We did so. Chesty Poor is kind of like one of the most decorated Marines in history, right? So he's always one of those guys that you try and emulate. He was like the Marine, and so that's where we brought that in. Is from fruit salad, because he's got a fruit salad, or had a fruit salad while he was alive. That bring it into that Chesty's Bessies, because Jason, Josh, we're good friends. We're big supporters of theirs. Love their ciders.
Yeah.
And it matched. So it just blew up that first time.
Yeah.
We still get requests for it all the time. I said, no. I said we'd both probably go broke if we made that full time. So we'll have it for you in November, right around the birthday and Cider Corps anniversary.
Excellent. Another thing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Another collab to look forward to.
Well, I want to get into tasting some of your beers. I know the majority. We know you for your sours.
Yeah.
We've featured them before. That Bayat Goza. We've done.
We've had Nadia Naraha, had Catch a Pint before.
Absolutely. There's
Milkshake by Agoza was possibly my favorite ever.
so good. And
Yeah.
for this guy to say even anything remotely nice about a sour is amazing.
Yeah.
It's my favorite style, which makes you guys one of my favorite local breweries.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed with them. But we want to start with a different style that you make.
Yeah.
It's Irish red.
Yes.
Right? Which is weirdly one of my other favorites. This is like the best tasting day ever for me.
So yeah, the topic for today is basically funky shit you put in beers, funky stuff that you don't typically see in beers.
Right up our alley.
I think right up your alley. So I think as we taste this one, first describe what's a little different about it. But as the leading question, how about what is the funkiest thing you've ever put in a beer? So let's taste.
Let's start with the beer. So this is Irish Sobriety, which is our oxymoron kind of rendition of our weapons check, right? So we use Teeling Irish whiskey staves in this.
Ooh, the smell is like super
So good.
oaky.
Oak, hints of vanilla,
Yeah.
right? A little bit.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
We use Teeling just because, it's actually my favorite Irish whiskey. The funkiness there is, Jameson is obviously the world-renowned kind of Irish whiskey, but Teeling's kind of small, craftier. And they take their Irish whiskey and this particular one, they age it in like dark rum barrels. So you get that kind of hint of that spice, dark rum on the back along with the oats.
Super good.
And Plaza Liquors gets the Teeling whiskey in, they get a shipment in. They're like, well, Allan's coming because it's all gone. So,
That's funny.
That's really cool that you took to hear about a whiskey being aged in rum barrels.
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. That's super different. It's unique, and the fact that you're using a craft whiskey, a smaller one, than something
Yeah.
so huge and
Yeah, we're definitely not known for being super traditional, right? So
Yeah.
the fact that they do that, and I like it, and that comes from my heritage side, right? So a lot of my family stems from Cork, way back in the day, as we trace them through, and so I mean, Irish whiskey's like liquid kryptonite to me. Right? And that's why I wanted to bring. That's why we started the Irish Red in the first place. The weapons check was, I mean, that was a beer, like a day drinker I wanted, or that my family had drank before. It was still light enough and crisp enough, not a big boozy thing. You could drink it all day. And we're like, well, let's play with it. So we made weapons at the ready. We're getting ready to make weapons free, which is the imperial version and barrel aged. So just different aspects of that.
So this is not to be confused. It's not a whiskey barrel aged beer. It's you use whiskey staves.
Staves, yeah.
Yeah.
So we took staves, gave them a little extra boost because they're traditionally bourbon staves or rum staves. Obviously, this one's rum, and then we take it and soak it in more of the teeling, and then just kind of put that into the tank, right?
So at what stage do you add the stave flavor?
So be cold side. It's all
Cold side.
post fermentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Kind of like you would, similar to what you would with a barrel beer, right? After you're done fermenting, and rack it over.
Right on.
These were one of the first beers that we started filtering. Staves add a little bit of haze to it, but we pre-filter it and go in. That way there's no weird stuff going on.
well, it's delicious. I'm gonna finish this.
It's kind of hard to play off the Irish if you don't have a little extra alcohol. At least
Yeah, right.
our stereotype, right?
Sorry,
So-
I'm Irish too, so
Okay.
I
Back-
All right, we're drinking.
I'm German.
and my dad was in the military, so I get that.
Back to the question: what's the funkiest
Oh yeah.
thing that you've ever put in beer? Or
He's like, hold on. Hold my-
so you purists out there, close your ears right now.
Yes, definitely. Whether you're a sour purist or just a regular beer, we actually soured with kimchi.
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 So Eric Ehrman over from Hermanos, I don't know if you guys have been down there before. We like to do this like really weird. It's just what we do. We come up with weird stuff. And he was playing with fermentation, doing kimchi, right? And on his menu, which it's really good flavor, good spice. And kimchi is also soured using lacto,
Okay.
right? But it's obviously what lacto feeds on is how it changes its profile. Let's try that. And we'll do, it's a beer called Funk Soul Brother. And we're like, well, let's just get some of my kimchi, get a jar of that and put it in. Oh, man.
Like, what the hell? Why not?
I had to put a carbon filter on the exhaust of the kettle just because, and luckily we were only open like 2 or 3 days a week at the time. But it stunk.
I was gonna say, how did that smell?
It smelled like a kimchi field. It was raunchy.
Oh man.
Right?
Oh, my gosh.
But the beer turned out absolutely pretty amazing. It
Yeah.
was all like tangerine and pineapple notes, and it had kind of this texture of like a corn beer.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really. We were surprised, right? And my wife said, "Nope, not again. Not doing that." But she walked in the brewery. She's like, "Nah."
Yeah.
Walked right out. So we've been banned from doing something that crazy. But we've,
amazing.
yeah, we always after that we were kicking around. Hey, let's do a sour cream and chive with some flaked potatoes. And, I got kiboshed on that one too. So.
Oh my gosh.
You just gotta just go for it. Just
Yeah.
when she's on vacation or something.
Which is funny because, I mean, I'm completely non-traditional, and both the brewers back there right now are pretty traditional.
Yeah.
So they help rein you in a little bit sometimes.
So talk about that. Francis is your new brewer.
Yep.
He's from Mother Road.
Yep.
So he's got loads of experience up there. But Carlos, tell us about Carlos.
Mr. Modelo.
Mr. Modelo.
32 years at Modelo.
Modelo.
And then he spent a year at Nimbus as well before they closed down. So it was just, we were advertising, we had a brewer leaving, and we advertised in whatever, Indeed or one of those sites. And he comes in, and I look at his resume, I said, I don't think I can afford you. You're a little overqualified for my little brewery, right? And I mean, we didn't have half the tanks. back then. I think
Yeah. So
it was
he's
still
been
maybe,
around for how long?
he just hit 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
So I mean, we've upgraded quite a bit since him, and he's helped us do that. So him bringing in from 32 years of making lagers,
Yeah.
right? And then he comes into here and he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to all make lagers. Now all I make is sours."
That's awesome.
I think you're saying he called you a fruit shop.
Yeah,
More of a
yeah,
fruit shop.
fruteria instead of cerveceria. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah, fruit shop. You know, we got more fruit here than we do beer.
And
Yeah,
then
pretty much.
taking Francis on just recently was awesome.
Yeah, no,
That's
he's
great.
They both do a tremendous job. Just feeding off me, kind of again bouncing off ideas with flavor palettes, and they make it happen. Like some of the grosses we'll get into now are just weird things I'm drinking or I'm sleeping and wake up one day I'm like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
Let's
It's
put
amazing.
kimchi in.
Yep.
That blows my mind. Yeah, let's get into some of these sours, and I want to talk a little bit about what's funky in these sours,
Oh, yeah.
and then I want to mention something about our collaboration, our sour that we're doing that some people might not realize.
Yeah.
But which one do you want to do first?
Let's probably start with Toma.
Toma.
Yeah. So this is our one of our newest renditions. This is actually our first that we're releasing statewide for that. It doesn't have any fruit in it, but you'll get a lot of like kind of tropical and citrus notes to it. We use the New England sea salt in this, which I really love. We're probably going to convert everything over to it. Just a nice flake sea salt, and it kind of finishes with a little bit like Pinot Grigio, right? Kind of at the end of it. And again, there's no fruit. That's all kind of malt, hops, and culture. So this one we're having fun with. Hopefully we can keep making this. The guys say it goes great with a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
I'll take the word for it. Me and
Should have had
tequila.
this last night
Me-
when we were celebrating my
Yeah,
Independence
jeez.
Day.
It's like the salt and the lime all in one, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's crazy. This one's crazy because you would think there's some kind of citrus in it, and it's
Yeah, it's
not. It just shows what hops can do for a beer.
Yeah, and even I mean, there's like, I think it's like 7 or 8 IBU, so there's not a lot of hops
Yeah.
in it anyway, but a lot of that's coming from your culture.
Yeah.
I'd say probably 95% of it is all in that, which is fun. We like playing with, we're kind of known for the naughty, kind of orangey culture, but we like to play, and some of our cultures get masked just because we have so much fruit in the
Sure.
beers. But we like to play around with them. We'll blend them, do different things. Like today, we were using a yogurt.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there you go. So we literally dump tubs of yogurt into our collaboration beer, and when you approached me about it, we were ideas, and I go, yogurt, that makes sense. And Francis was explaining how it's kind of a layered, creates kind of a layered sour.
Yeah.
Because there's different types of lactobacillus in it.
Yeah. So there's 9 different cultures of lacto in there. But 1 or 2 kind of take over when you do it, but it gives that kind of good overlap because they're all kind of different flavors and levels of acidity when different on the temperature and the malt that you're using, right? But the yogurt even adds a little aspect to it. It gives you some of that creaminess, right? So it's definitely not for lactose intolerant. This is not the one.
Yeah.
Or
but-
vegan or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Stay away
Yeah.
from this one.
This
Sorry.
is not the one. Toma is the one for you.
Yeah, there you go.
But it just kind of adds that different complexity on that too, that especially with using some of the fruits we're going to use, that it just kind of elevates all of that. It gives you that little bit different of mouthfeel than you would in a normal kettle sour, right? A lot of them are like Toma, like a little thinner, crushable during the summer.
Yeah.
But I like bringing that different aspect to where you can transition flavors through the beers, right?
That's so crazy that this has no fruit to it, no citrus. It's
Yeah, I know.
amazing.
He gave me a sample of this. Is Kai's. I gotta get this.
Oh,
Kai,
she's gonna love it.
Kai will love
Yeah.
this. Yeah, for sure.
This is great. Although this is my baby jam right now.
It's
This is so good.
I know it's good, huh?
It warms up a little bit more, that kind of whiskey aroma comes out. I love it just because there's like, you can taste almost like hints of vanilla into it. And then my wife actually she gets weird shit on her palate. She'll admit it, so she'll still slap me for saying that. But she'll get like banana, and I'm like, where do you get banana? And I think she kind of between the oak and the vanilla associated with some kind of like banana split or something. And,
Huh.
yeah.
I've done that before too. On different episodes, I've tried some different things, and he'll get one thing, and I'll get a whole other thing, and then the brewer will look at me like, I don't want
What
you
the
to
hell
get
is
that.
that?
And I'm like, sorry. It's just what it's because I mean, palates are all different.
Oh,
We're all going to
absolutely.
associate something, you know, in a different way, especially food-wise. If we haven't eaten a lot of things, and you know, like I've never tried kimchi, so I couldn't tell you what that tastes like. It just smells awful. I've never wanted to try it. It's
Yeah.
not my
It's
jam.
actually
I don't like sauerkraut
Yeah.
or weird stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I'm willing to try that beer.
Yeah.
I'll
It took
give
me
it a go.
it took me a while to eat that and rice because I was in Korea in November of '97, and it was colder than hell. And I was up trucking through, you know, rice paddies and going through kimchi fields, and I was like, man, this is great food, but I don't want to see this for a while. I was traumatized.
Oh my gosh.
100 pounds on my
Kimchi
my back.
overload.
It was bad. Yeah.
My roommate my old roommate and my best friend, he's Korean, and when we lived together, he always had a massive jar of kimchi. Power, I love you, man, but oh my God, it's
good stuff,
It
man.
smells up the
Yeah,
whole
it does,
fridge,
it does.
and it's like,
Now take that times 100.
oh, I know,
And
I
now
can't
it's the
imagine.
entire brewery.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. That's crazy.
And I mean, I love it because, especially, it's really good for your gut too. It was great, especially having it in Korea. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm not by no means knocking it. It was the Marine Corps that dragged my butt in there in November with a 100-pound pack, going up mountains and rice paddies. And it's not like Vietnam. You see, like rice paddies are flat. Korea, there's so many hills. Rice paddies are all mixed elevations, and going 100 pounds on that for 20, 25 miles while you're freezing your butt off. It was not the most pleasant experience I had.
Yeah, sure.
We appreciate you doing it nonetheless.
Yes,
though,
for sure.
for us in our country is awesome.
Right.
Let's get into the next beer. Talk about the collab. We mentioned about Greek yogurt in it, but what are some other like tasting notes and things that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, so we're really going for, you know, kind of the milkshake gosa, milkshake everything is kind of in the trend, and we're like, yeah, we don't do a lot of stouts, so let's not do a milkshake stout, and milkshake IPAs are definitely not my jam, right? I'm an IPA sour guy, so hazies are about as far as you can go with my IPA. But we do all these different sours with like Baya's kind of that, without even initially trying it, was kind of that milkshake even. So we're bringing that yogurt culture, right? So giving that layered kind of feel and that creaminess to it. Putting some nice Mexican vanilla, which is, a lot of people use Madagascan, but just growing up here, that's kind of, Mexican vanilla is like my jam. And then we're blending a couple of different fruits, some banana and some blueberries. So kind of doing the research. I like to eat, I like to cook. So just bringing some of those desserts or cocktails is kind of how I get some of those ideas. So bringing those two together with some nice like cinnamon and some nutmeg, kind of bring that spice. And then the Mexican vanilla actually kind of elevates all of those flavors and textures in there.
My mouth is watering right now. I can't wait for this thing to be done. I can't wait for another month.
That's so cool.
By the time this comes out, though, it'll be right around that time.
Yeah,
So I'm
perfect time.
super excited.
Hopefully it'll cool down by then, right?
Yeah, right. When we were bouncing ideas off of each other, and, well, before even approaching you, I thought I want to do something like milkshake by Agosa, because that was literally the beer when we had that on tap. I said, if sours are like this, I'll drink the hell out of them.
They can be.
Yeah.
So, but that was you did that. What, a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah. So we won. Yeah. So last year we won with blueberry pie. So yeah, it was 2 years ago. It was the year before that we won the Born and Brewed for milkshake buyout.
Okay, yeah, because that was my turning point. That was okay. I'm gonna continue to give sours a a chance. Still can't do some of the hardcore stuff. I'm still a beginner sour, milkshake sour, smoothie sour, you know. But I'm getting into it. Like this is not a beginner sour.
No, it's kind of mid-level. I mean, it's not overly tart, and it's kind of, you know, maybe 1 or 2 dimensional. So it's not as, you know, if we have a big barrel mixed fermentation, I mean, that's kind of the granddaddy of those, but it takes a lot of people. You know, I like to do different things because it introduces people that, like you said, you wouldn't drink a sour. Yeah. We do a lot of wine drinkers. We convert them that way. Yeah. But if we gave them something, you know, like some of my go-to sours are like Rodenbach or some of the Almanac stuff. Yeah. Right? Which will blow your palate. Right? Yeah. You're like, oh man, sure. I need a Tums after that. Right? They're phenomenal, right? And those are the kind of things that kind of inspired me to do some of these sours. But you know, it's like starting someone out with 100 IBU IPA, right? You're gonna like completely wreck them for a good couple of years at least of doing that, right? And so some of these other heavily fruity ones, we even bring non-beer drinkers, convert wine drinkers. And so we like to have kind of that spectrum. We got to have some for the pucker head, got to have some for the hop head, but then kind of the everyday, hey, maybe, okay.
Yeah, that's. We were bouncing on who could we do something like that isn't going to make Justin just pucker up and crawl on a quarter. And then it was a pretty easy choice to approach you and with everything you're doing, because I credit you with getting me into sours. Absolutely, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
I told you, honey. I told you.
Well, no, I definitely agree with that. Anytime I've had somebody come in that is a wine drinker or a liquor drinker, and they're like, I don't really like beer. It's not my thing. Sours and ciders are my go-tos to be like, well, let's try this and introduce you to it, and then they're always pleasantly surprised, like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Because there are a lot of sours out there that kind of mimic the aftertaste, like you're talking about this one, you know, having those notes of like Pinot Grigio at the end. There's other ones that are dry, like Chardonnays and even darker red ones and stuff. I've had Merlot style sours, and it's really cool that it's one of those styles that I think when people first hear sour, they think of the
pickle.
Or the Sour Patch Kids, or like that kick you in the teeth.
The Warheads.
And there's like, oh no. It's like, just give it a whirl. There's tons of different kinds. There's some that are more salty, some that are more fruity and sweet.
Yeah, there's so much. I think there's, you know, we always say, you know, you don't like beer, no, you just haven't found the beer you like, right? It's like anything else. There's so many flavors. I mean, you walk into Baskin Robbins, you don't like every freaking flavor that's in there. Yeah. But you have one, you're like, damn, that's mine, right? And maybe I'll try another one. And that's, to me, I think sours are even more like that because we can do so many things with them. I mean, an IPA is an IPA. Yeah, you can play with stuff, but it's still, to me, it's finite. With a sour, it's like no holds barred. Like we do the weirdest cultures, the funnest cultures. I mean, when we started the pie series, we got lit up on lit up. You can't do that. Banana cream pie is supposed to be sweet. Ghost is supposed to be sour. I'm like, all right, hold my beer. All right.
Hold my beer.
I'm gonna, you know, and there's people that don't like them. Like, you know, they didn't like cherry pie. Some really love blueberry pie. So I'm like, okay, we just like playing with it. To me, and I mean, I'm not a Hefeweizen guy, so I'm not a huge like banana beer dude. But we make the banana cream pie Ghost as well. Yeah. That's all my wife. That's all for love you, honey. She that is like her favorite pie. I'm like, I'm gonna try it. It came out pretty good. It's still got like a subtle tartness, but it's like boom banana.
Yeah, those pies are phenomenal.
They're fun.
Have you ever done a coconut cream pie one?
We have not. She wanted me to do a bananas Foster, and then we talked about coconut cream. Coconut is such a weird kind of fruit and beer. It's already hard to have head retention in a sour as it is. So then adding coconut and the oiliness, it just kind of, and I'm not a big extracty weird flavor. We like to use real fruit. So we haven't really hit that one yet. We did do a Chakra Braw with coconut into it, so all the tropical flavors in coconut. It actually was okay in my mind. Some people really dug it, but it just, to me, all that, there was like no head retention period. And that just kind of drives me nuts when I see a beer like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. We just haven't really gotten to that yet. We're working on a peach calmer right now.
Okay.
Surprisingly, the peach has been a little difficult. But
Darn you, peaches. I just mentioned it because coconut cream pie is one of my favorites. So if you ever do it, well, let me know.
So what do you want to do next?
I think we should do probably naranja loca.
Okay.
So this one, I think it's third. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember anymore. This is the third in our Mexican candy one. So this is kind of, you see the can that you got there is the frambuesa. So frambuesa is raspberry in Spanish. And so we took our little naughty, so it's kind of a sessionable naughty, if you will, and then added chamoy, tamarindo, and habanero into it.
Yeah,
So it's
we got some
kinda
spice
all
on
of
this
those, yeah,
puppy.
you know.
We got some spice.
But yeah, a ton of that orange, and then,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, right away, that chamoy kind of hits, and then you kind of wave through some tamarindo, and then right into the habanero. So.
Yeah, it's. I think Tucson is spicy beer heaven. It seems like almost every brewery down here has a really good spicy beer.
Yeah, I mean, it's indicative of the food, right? We're like, we're a gastronomy city with all the, especially all the Mexican food, and you know, me and my wife just growing up with these, right? Like we did the Sandia Loca was the first one. And that was like a watermelon tamarindo Mexican candy. And again, I was drinking and having candy, and there it goes, right?
Like,
Wheels turning.
Yeah.
rather than eat and drink, I could just drink all of it.
And so, I mean, that one is so. I mean, it's still requested. People
All
are
right,
like,
mother.
that
Fly.
fly.
I'm sorry,
I was like,
fly.
I know, I've just been
There's a
watching
blooper
it.
right there. There's
Been watching this one fly
this
just
fucking
circle
fly.
both
It's
of
all
your
over
heads.
him and me.
It's,
Man.
well, it's because you've got all the
I was like,
like
I
green
know I
and
showered.
everything.
Yeah, we got. Shit. I'm sorry.
It's all from brewing. It's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No,
Oh,
don't
hey,
be.
it's
That's
been
the best part about
having
this
the door
is we
open right
can-
there. Gotta have that lighting though.
Yeah,
That way
right.
I don't look any worse on camera.
When I first smell this, I actually get a lot of like something between like apricot and peach,
Yes.
kind of a smell right off the bat.
Yes, absolutely.
And then drinking it, it's so unexpected
So yeah, I think
of
you're.
all of that.
I think
flavor.
that's coming from the chamoy.
Okay.
Wow, I just drew a blank of the fruit that, but it's a stone fruit that you use to make chamoy. And so it's kind of this spicy red. I don't know if you had chamoy before.
Interesting,
But
yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of where that pops on the aroma.
It's
Yeah.
really cool, and that beautiful little lingering spice. It makes me want to like cook with it. I don't know. It's really cool.
I mean, well, that's kind of what we wanted to do with it, right? You know, when I would walk to junior high from my house, there was this lady that was about a block in off the trail that we walked to, and she basically had like a little Mexican candy store in her house. She'd pop a little window in her garage open, and we'd get, you know, Lucas or Pupalindos and just different things like that. And we'd take them to school and have them during, you know, lunch and stuff like that. And that was kind of where I wanted to go with it. It was just a lot of fun, and you could do so much, all the different fruits. I mean, the orange, it isn't traditional throwing like chamoy and stuff like that on tamarindo. It's more kind of my idea came from the salty, right? You put the salivito in the orange and eat it at the, you know, hanging out at the swap meet. That's kind of where this one came from. But to kind of keep the trend, I thought the chamoy and the tamarindo would really be prominent when it comes to orange. So that was a lot of fun.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's
And they're
very flavorful.
one thing that I do really enjoy about all of the beers is like obviously sours are a big passion of yours and what you really enjoy making. It's sometimes when you go to different breweries or something, and like they have that one specialty. Like they focus on IPAs, or they focus on stouts, or they focus on sours. After a while, you start to notice that things sort of tend to taste the same. And they, you know, you're like, oh, this one's slightly different, or they took the same one and just added a little bit. and you kind of, you don't want to, but a lot of the people can kind of get bored, I guess, with it, of like, okay, that's great, we know you do this. Not at all happens with your beer. I feel like every single one of them is super different, super unique. Even when you're talking about, yeah, we took this and kind of changed it up a little bit, it's so different than Weapons Check. The different gozas and stuff that you do, just, I love it that they're so completely different.
Yeah.
But you can still taste that it's you,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you still see the same culture all through them, and your passion and your history, but the different parts of it. And it's just
Sweet.
really cool.
I'm done for the day, man. I got my. You like hit everything we tried to do on the head, right? So finally it came through, and I'm like, I'm good. All right.
Sweet, my job's done. I'm done. I try.
So, your Kirbside culture. Talk a little bit about your mixed culture family.
Oh, yeah.
Your family, your wife, and you, completely different backgrounds, but very similar.
Yeah. I mean, so she's of Mexican descent. Grew up on South and West Side like I did, but obviously being part of that because she's immersed a little bit more in it. Her dad's was born in Hermosillo, so we have a lot of that aspect to it. So me just growing up, I grew up a block from Sunnyside High School, about 2 blocks actually. So it was one of those. I think in my high school there was like 10 or 12 of kind of Anglo descent with it, right? So it's definitely in the minority there. But I really embraced her. All my friends were a Mexican descent or from Mexico and stuff like that. So I was always at their houses and cooking, and I've always had an interest. Even with my old man, he loves to cook. Both my stepdad and my dad, they love to cook, and so it kind of filtered into me. So I'd go in, even a girlfriend's house. I'd go hang out with her mom for a while and help her in the kitchen. Then we'd hang out and eat. And they'd always want to feed me, like, hey, güerito, come in. I'm gonna have something, right?
Well, that was smart of you.
Oh, yeah,
Get mom on your side.
You have to get mom. The
Man.
dads hated me for most of the time, So, and they always do protect their daughters. But even my friend Gina, I would come hang out at their houses, and because I went to school with their older brothers and went to school with the sisters, but their mom Koki just absolutely was just great to me. She treated me like a son, and so I'm always in there, learning to make tamales, carne asada, birria, you name it. And so all those aspects of trying different chiles and trying different spices of how you make stuff, and even just different desserts will inspire stuff, right? So to me, it was just a great kind of rounded, coming from an Irish background that's married to Italians, and coming some of that back east, and then my mom from kind of the South, right? That whole mix, and then you mix that in with a lot of Latin culture. It's
family reunions are fun.
Oh, it is, man. We're all related by alcohol, though. So we're good with it.
Do they ever get mad if you don't bring your beer?
Yeah. Oh,
I would imagine.
yeah.
They're like, what the heck? You just made all this beer. You didn't even share it with us.
Yeah. This one, frambuesa, is raspberry.
And this is the can.
Yeah, that's the can right there.
This is out now.
Yeah, it is. Just came out of we'll be sending some out to distribution this afternoon, actually. Yeah, today's Thursday. So this one's a little different in it, that we brought some different chiles. We have kind of a chile blend with some tahini, chiltepin, habanero. But it's prominent in raspberry, which isn't traditional Mexican candy. But I was like, all right, it sounds cool.
I love raspberry, blueberry, my thing.
And just bringing the sour in it, it's just kind of, to me, it's a lot of fun. Similar notes to the other one, but the raspberry is really intense.
This is mine. Yeah. This is great. This is my favorite.
The raspberry mellows out the heat a little bit too.
Yeah.
Whereas this one's got a little bit more of that
That lingering spice.
Yeah.
This is more of a compliment to it to kind of.
Yeah, this is that's fantastic.
Drink a little more though, it'll build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the smell of it too a little bit more, like on the nose, and kind of when you first going to sound really
So-
silly, but
Kind of back on our topic, like when you describe when you're trying to make these beers, I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of science
Oh, yeah.
behind beer, and when you're experimenting, literally experimenting, you're on a very, very small scale. That takes hours and hours and hours. It's not just dumping grain and oh, you got beer.
Sometimes days.
Days,
Depending
yeah.
on what it is.
Yeah. Describe how that works, because I don't think a lot of people realize what really the science behind what goes into one of these sours.
Yeah, so I'd say the sours, to me, the reason that they intrigue me so much is that they're not as simple, at least to be consistent, as another beer, right? A lot of it, it's a bacteria, it's a lactobacillus, like we talked about yogurt. And that's one of those that gives you that tanginess in your yogurt. It does whatever it wants. I mean, you have guidelines, you have kind of guard bands, if you will. I mean, engineered brewer's yeast, you hit your numbers, you treat it right, I mean, you're going to spot on, right? If it's got the viability, there's your right cell count, pitch temperatures, all that stuff. I mean, you're hitting it, right? That's like the motto of consistency in brewing. To me, with sours, you kind of have to be a cross between a brewer and a winemaker, if you will. For one, you can get it in your window, your pH changes a little, you can dial your flavor profile in a little, but then you do like a lot of blending with things. So we'll blend batches together, we'll blend cultures together, and then making tweaks with different grain bills. Like if we double batch a sour, first batch may be X numbers, and then second one will go Y, just because the way that this one went, right? Especially when you're using stuff that's not always lab created as well, yogurts.
Yogurts.
So to me, that's the interesting part of, it's more like you're telling the bacteria, hey, this is what I suggest. If we're good, right? And then you adjust from there. So you're always kind of playing with different flavors, different acidity levels, and then just how all the different flavors play with each other, right? Like you got to have an orange culture to bring this fruit into, a lemon culture to bring that one into. Because if you mix fruits that don't work, it's just kind of this weird kind of stuff. So that's kind of the winemaker aspect, but you try and hit it with all these different titratable acidity levels, right? Which is more your perceived acidity, as opposed to like people generally it's like a pH level. But pH level is the level of the acidity in it, but not necessarily what you're going to perceive in your tongue.
Sure.
Yeah.
So bringing that in and even playing with what your malt characteristic is, what your gravity level is, like not even. I mean, that's like a 3.1, 3.2 pH normally,
Wow.
but it's an 8.5% beer, so it kind of brings that alcohol-y sweetness back to it. So it's a lot of those kind of playing with things of how does this hop mess with this, and even water chemistry is, we're pretty happy with finally, after this many years, got an RO system. We've been fighting the Tucson City well rotation and filtering this and that. No more.
No more.
Done.
Well, then you got the problem. I was talking about that with Francis actually earlier today. It's not really a problem, but I guess it's a cool problem because you're not going to make a German style beer. You mimic German water,
Yeah.
yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
So you put things back into it to make it German style water.
Yeah, it's another thing to do, but it's, we have to constantly monitor, but it's pretty nice how it goes. I mean, it's like 390 TDS, which is total dissolved solids that come in, so that's all calcium and sodium and magnesium and all those things, because it's really hard waterable here and in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
It's actually worse in Phoenix, which
Oh yeah.
that's tough water to brew with, which I give hats off to the guys that don't have RO up there, right?
Yeah.
I think most of them do, but I mean, water is it's the bulk of your beer, and it changes everything. In an IPA, you can make a 17 IBU beer, it takes like a 60 just by having sulfates in your beer. So balancing that and then still trying to stick with our thing is like keep a weapons check consistent now, right? We change the water on it, So now let's go back to that profile so it doesn't get too caramely or too sweet. So a lot of that's, your chemist, your biologist, because you're trying to make sure this yeast and this lacto and other cultures are kind of staying in their lanes, right? So it's, So we say it's kind of like we're 90% janitor, 5% scientist, and 5% artist.
I like that.
Or sanitation engineer. So.
Yes, the proper term. I think that's something I love hearing from different brewers and stuff is how they get to experiment. Because, I feel like generally beer drinkers know, this is the 4 basic ingredients of beer and how to, how to make it in a sense. But the fact that you can mess around with each single part and make a completely different tasting beer. And I know we did that over at Helton. Took a West Coast IPA that we made, and they just changed the water, the salt content in it. Same hops, everything, and it was
completely different.
Completely different, and I just think that's super fun.
Yeah.
That no one brewer just says, "Oh, I'm just gonna mess with the hops and do different hops," or "I'm just gonna mess with the culture," or what. They play around with each and every part of it because you can, and I don't know. I just think it's
otherwise it wouldn't be fun. I mean, it'd be the same old.
Yeah, then we'd all be
Budweiser
drinking the
every
same
day.
10 things.
And a lot of
People
folks don't pick even temperature. Temperature ranges for whatever you're doing. Fermentation temperatures, souring temperatures, all changes. Even serving temperatures, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sours, a lot of them I like them a little bit warmer, or like stouts, like really big pastry or boozy barrel stouts. All of those things just kind of come out a little bit more when it's warming up. It's kind of like I used to do a lot of like whiskey tastings. And, when you talk to distillers, these like Scottish distillers, they say just put a little bit of ice, put an ice cube in there, because all that water, a lot of folks are like, oh, I gotta have it neat. Well, just put it in and let a little bit of that water. You don't want to water it down, but a little bit, because it actually opens up those notes. Right? And so, to me, serving temperatures and then even fermenting kind of do the same kind of thing and bring different notes out. Smells and tastes and textures.
Absolutely. I love that.
Cool.
I actually just tasted this now that it's warmed up.
I drank mine too fast.
So bright. You missed out because it is.
Well, there's some more over there.
Yeah. Get a little bit.
I think I can buy a little bit more of it.
But it's really cool. There's a lot more of that whiskey oaky notes for sure.
It just kind of opens it up. It's just kind of one of those. We have time for maybe one more, a little surprise beer.
Yeah, do you want to do the stash beer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So we got some stash beers here. Little bonus style. Do you want to start with the 1912?
Yeah, we can finish with the Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm interested to try this.
So we're talking about funky stuff and beer.
My favorite subject.
So this is Belgian style golden ale with rose hips.
Ooh.
Rose hips and hibiscus. So the color is going to be interesting.
I'm curious because I've had some hibiscus beers before, and I feel like it did more for the color and the smell than it did the flavor. So I'm really curious.
Probably been real subtle. It can be really astringent when you use hibiscus sometimes.
So have you done any Belgian styles?
Oh, it smells amazing.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That
So
smells crazy.
rose hips being in this. Why would somebody add rose hips? What does that do for the beer?
I'd say why not, but
What's that?
I'd say why not.
Why not? Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. No, but what is it? What are,
I mean, I've never used them, but I know when you do different stuff like that, like lavenders or chamomile, it brings that kind of that effervescent, that kind of aroma, floral aroma about even hibiscus, right? Brings that kind of floral aroma up and out of it. Gives it just a different, like 40% of your taste is through your scent, right? And so it kind of sets the stage of this is going to be a really interesting, nice kind of you got a little bit of earthiness into it. At least that's what I'm getting. A little bit of again, hibiscus isn't overpowering or dominant. It's not like drinking a Jamaica, right? That's the Spanish drink of hibiscus, but it doesn't have that sweetness. It really focuses on rose and hibiscus, that kind of flowery.
At the beginning, it's almost a little sweet and floral, and then the Belgian.
And it takes over,
Yeah,
right?
the Belgian
Yeah.
takes
Dries
over.
that tongue out.
I was gonna say, it's like when you first go to sip it, you're like, ooh, this is gonna be sweet. And it's like, haha, just kidding.
Never mind.
Yeah, right at the tip. Right at the tip.
It's like-
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
it's a complex beer. It's
Yeah.
as a lot of brewery beers.
Yeah.
They're crazy about how good they are with
doing funky different things.
throwing rose hips and
Yeah.
hibiscus. And
Just that right there.
I've had a beer with rose hips before. It was not good.
And that one was.
It was not good. This is done well.
It really depends on when you add stuff like that too. Again, like teas and different floral things like that. If you add them too early, they can get really astringent and just really super, super weird bitterness. So it's all about, I mean, even when we brewed with Sam Adams, he's like, when you're doing stuff like this, wait till the end. Right? As far down as you can, because that's the last chance something can go wrong with that actual kind of ingredient addition. And so bringing that in, you can adjust it, right? It's a little easier.
Yeah.
You put it in the boil, it's all the way through the beer, right? And so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we did that with some, like we did a Thai beer with basil and lemongrass and a couple other Thai ingredients. And yeah, we found that the later we added, the better the beer was. It still had all that kind of aroma that popped and you'd expect from it, but it didn't have that lingering astringency that was hanging about.
I
Yeah.
think it's probably taking the same approach as dry hopping.
Mm-hmm.
It's that
Very
whole
similar.
idea that the later you add it so that it doesn't get to cook necessarily, or warm up and
Yeah.
ferment, unlike hops into the whirlpool and stuff. All that is done for that extra aroma, for that extra little punch, and so it makes total sense to add all your funky
Yeah.
stuff after that as
Yeah.
well, so it doesn't get to cook down and get oily or get funky. And I think probably using something like rose hips versus like an extract or something too keeps it from oiling out or getting that like mouthfeel that really sticks to you in a funky way. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I dig this. I'm not a
yeah,
huge
these are really-
Belgian gal, but I have been pleasantly surprised by quite a few of them that we've tasted on this show. And
Yeah, I think in this country, or at least in Arizona, I mean, I think they're a little underappreciated just from the complexities and the workmanship, the artisanship that goes into them.
yeah.
To me, if I find something like, oh, that's like that. I haven't been out enough to see a lot of beers right now, but stuff like this is what I grab and get ideas from too. I'm like, oh, that sounds really weird. That sounds right up my alley.
That's perfect.
So
So we have a rose hips sour coming soon?
maybe we'll see. We gotta catch up first before I get crazy. Right?
Well,
I got a whole lot of naughty naranja in my forecast.
Well, collaboration number 2 will be rose hips.
Rose hips. Right? I don't know if I can make that milkshake though.
Yeah, no, probably.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
I want to mention one thing about 1912 that I noticed, and something as a consumer I really appreciate, is the fact that while you do have certain things that you're like, this is what we're always going to make year round and everything, you do really play around
Oh, yeah.
with
Yeah,
so many different things. And so it's really fun as a consumer to be able to like, what are you doing next? What's coming out? Ooh, this is really cool. And if it's just small batch, you get super stoked when you're the one that gets that can, when you come. And but it's because you work with a little bit smaller system
Yeah.
that allows you to play with that. What size are we running on? Like, what did we do for the collab?
Our base is a 3.5 barrel.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is so cute.
it
Well,
is.
it's going to end up 7 though, right?
So we double batch with
Yeah.
the sour into the 7 barrel. So the
Awesome.
collab will be a 7, but the base is 3.5.
Yeah.
Then that's for the souring side. On the production side, we added an 8-barrel kettle just because weapons check, we just crank out, right? So crank that one out. So we do a lot of double and triple batches.
Nice.
We're kind of like the little brewery that could. Close to it, right?
Yeah.
But you also have, and I think it's a perfect model if you ask me. Like you have your core beers. You have 5, 6 that you can almost always get year round. But then it's just you're pumping out this fun stuff. And
We have. And I think it keeps us from getting bored.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And same with the consumer, though.
Yeah. And then we just like to showcase, something's in season, or something just sparked my interest. Just messing around. Like we'll grab wine grapes. We did a collab with Stronghold when a buddy of mine was the winemaker there. We grabbed some grapes and aged the sour saison on it. It's just, it's one of I take my boys. We go pick peaches down at Apple Annie's, right? And then we bring them in. And we did a beer with a restaurant, the Parish over here, and it's just one of those fun little. We just love it, right? I think it has to do a lot with my home brewing because I've never been until we opened this up. I've never been a commercial brewer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a good and a bad thing sometimes.
Did you ever home brew a sour?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
That's not common, right?
It is not, but I had.
And how did it go?
It went well actually. It was barrel aged, so it was like a full on bread. Wasn't into PDO yet because I didn't know enough to keep it from getting ropey.
Ropey?
Yeah, so pediococcus, it'll get a kind of this ropiness to it.
Okay.
If it's dominated, right?
Okay, I haven't heard
Bread
that.
a lot of time is kind of mixing. Brett kind of chews some of that up.
Okay.
And if you make mistakes or it just does whatever the hell it wants sometimes. But the Brett and the lacto, because Brett kind of does that funkiness, right? That horse plank and tropicalness. But it's not a big acidity kind of guy that comes out, right? Lacto does a lot of that, PDO does a lot of that. But there's some in that transition phase is really weird times as it's going through its aging process that does some really weird aromas. And Brett kind of takes that and pulls that back in. Just a great kind of partnership between those three when you put them in. It depends on the culture you use too, but so I did a Brett lacto sour in a small barrel that I got, which I didn't know any better. I got a whiskey barrel from Washington, and it was a great little whiskey. But after like listening to some of the sour hours and stuff like that, and Jay's like, yeah, you do a whiskey barrel and you get it in, you get it out, and you're good. Otherwise, you're over oxidized. And so I would sample it out, and I'd put it in bottles, and then I'd leave some. So I didn't understand the whole give and take on the barrel as much as I should have. So it went well for the first 2 cases.
Yeah.
And then it went downhill real quick.
You're like, well, just call it something else.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that it turned out well.
Yeah, from early on.
Early on, yeah.
And then when we were talking about opening this, we talked to Jefferson from Firestone Walker, right? And my wife and I were just picking his brain. Hey, we're opening up. We're really small, but I like to do barrel stuff. I like to do barrel sours. And he's we have ours all the way on the other side of town. Do not. So for the first year, my wife was like, "You're not doing any sours in this beer."
Now you're.
And then I finally was like, I kind of just started it and then asked for forgiveness afterwards. The first sour we did with Eric Herman, and she loved it.
What was the first sour?
Cerezo.
What was it?
So at Cerezo, it was a yogurt cultured cherry gosa.
Okay.
And we did that with Borderlands and then Hermanos. So it was kind of our first one that, we're like, all right, let's do this. And it was like our first kettle sour, right? None of us had kettle sour, except I think Borderlands had started Citron at that point.
Sure.
And but it wasn't anything this funky. It was big ass yogurt culture. I mean, it was just like this milky goo. Put that in, and it was crazy because normally you got 24, 48, sometimes 60 hours, and it was like 82 hours I think is what it took this one to go. It just didn't kick off, but man, the final project was just really, really good. We had so much fun with that beer. I had no idea. Oh, and then after that, my wife was like, "Yeah, go ahead. You can do whatever you want."
You got this.
You just had to prove that you could do one of them really well. And then
Without
it's like,
infecting
all
the
right.
entire brewery too.
I know, that's got to be the danger, stuff like that. That's awesome.
It is. I mean, lactose a little bit easier to kill. Brettanomyces, and we've had a few Brett beers that we did here, but we had our barrel room, but we needed the floor space for the tap room, so that's kind of on hold until we get something else going.
Yeah.
But we really love playing with barrels. That's just kind of one of those get barrels from across the street at Del Block and just have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff.
So we got one last,
Yes.
one last stash one.
That you wanted to
I
share.
had to bring this one out.
What is it?
This is Sandia Loca. This kind of started our Mexican candy infatuation. This one is watermelon, tamarindo, chamoy, and chiltepin.
I love watermelon.
And they're like, why can't you make it again? Well, these watermelons are kind of out of season now.
Right.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about a little bit before. Why don't you make this all the time? You know.
Yeah.
And why? And then we've talked about this too. Why is this year different than last year?
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many. We've talked about this about the hops. Just the hops alone from year to year can change.
Yeah.
The fruits.
Fruit's even more sensitive.
Yeah.
In my mind, I mean, we'll have, a blueberry crop that changes. I mean, it's like a 180 all over the place. Even, bananas, if they're pulled too ripe, you get a greeny kind of tasting, which is not fun.
We talked about this earlier. So I was impressed about how meticulous you are about. So banana will be in our collaboration beer, but you are going to choose the banana specifically to make sure that it's right. It's
And
not too
ripen.
ripe, not too
Yeah.
ripe, not too not too soon, not too late. Almost like a banana bread.
Yeah, we'll pour the banana bread.
awesome.
Yeah, and because we found, and this is nothing against, some of our fruit suppliers by any stretch. They do a phenomenal job, but you can only do so much of what a crop provides, right?
Right.
Mother Nature brings it. And if you have a low moisture content in certain things, it totally changes that sweetness level, right? Especially in berries. I mean, just the variation in so many berries, and then they do a great job of trying to blend it in. But when you have a specific, biome, right? When you have a blueberry that just isn't sweet, if it's more tangy like a blackberry, completely changes the profile
Sure.
of the beer.
Sure.
And man, do people let me know.
And maybe that speaks to some of why a lot of brewers lean more towards juices or purees, stuff like that, because maybe they can control that a little bit more than actually.
A little bit, but even the purees are, because they're dependent on that crop.
Yeah.
Extracts are a different thing because, that's like scientifically lab kind of factory controlled. And, but even purees, because we use purees, we use whole fruits, you name it. But a lot of that is really, it's all about what Mother Nature's flowing into, right?
Yeah.
And even hop, right? We talk about hops, like Galaxy is a hop that's in really high demand, but it's changed so much since the beginning. Just trying to keep up with demand, trying to keep up with Mother Nature. And so that's the hardest part, is that if the fruit doesn't pass, kind of our QC of what I think it's going to be like, we can't come up with that beer. And the watermelon's kind of faded. It's more riney than it is kind of coming through. So that does not come across well in a sour, right?
Absolutely.
Well, this has been sitting in front of me now for a couple minutes, and I haven't tasted it.
I've already dove in.
I have not had this
I just
beer.
slipped it in between the word, right?
I have not had this
I
beer.
was like, y'all talk. I'm just gonna drink over here. It's so beautifully watermelon right out the gate. The smell and that
Yes.
sweetness of the front, and then it's like
Great.
that little mellow hint at the end of the candy and the tamarindo. And
Yeah, and if you look on the bottom of the can, it's called candy in a can. So,
Candy in a can.
Yeah, candy in a can. Is
I love
how
I love the stamps that you guys can put
I
on
was like,
there.
let me just give you the rest.
We just have, we'll have a little
It's
fun.
so
with it.
good. Well, I
Don't mind
love
if I
that.
do.
And this is just that one that, you know, we wanted to bring out that watermelon puparindo candy and just have fun. And for some people, it's a little sweet for the Gosa.
I like it.
But-
That's why I like it.
Yeah. But we like to play with the flavors. It's not necessarily that it has to blow your palate away. Just kind of bring out all those flavors with some of the tartness. And
Nailed
I mean,
the watermelon.
This
Nailed
is
it.
just like, I mean, I don't know how many requests we're still getting for this beer.
Oh, we're so glad that you got
So-
to share it with
yeah,
us.
thank you so much.
This is one of the few that are left.
Is there, hopefully, well, next year maybe?
I'm thinking, yeah, probably. I mean, we kind of designed it as one of our anniversary beers, but I think the popularity of it's kind of forces my hand a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that I really like this. I like playing with it. We might make it a little bit tartar, just not a lot. We'll bring some of that, but we always make little tweaks as brewers. But
Sure.
yeah, I definitely think so. As much as, I mean, it's been sold out for over a month now, and we're still getting hit up.
Yeah.
Distribution, Phoenix, and then
Sure.
fortunately we couldn't send a lot of it out, especially during the COVID lockdown and stuff.
Right.
So we had to
Right.
depend on our tap room.
Yeah.
But,
Awesome.
yeah, this will definitely, we'll keep some Mexican candy stuff going through. There's always something weird I can twist around. and
Yeah,
do.
it's a fun little series you got going. They're all, I mean, we've tasted from pretty spicy on the back end to fruity with a little spice on this one.
Yeah, more the flavor.
Yeah.
It's more the chili flavor
Yeah.
as opposed to just that heat.
Yeah.
And we wanted to try and do that where it's a compliment, not necessarily not drinking a chili beer.
Right. Yeah.
I love how in all of the cans of them, that whole series, it says, we don't recommend stuffing your piñata with cans. Like,
Oh my God, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
that could actually be really fun. Just exploding.
It'll be a little messy, but yeah.
Fireworks of beer everywhere.
That'd be. I see all the people like trying to drink it as it's spraying
Oh my
everywhere.
God.
Don't waste the beer.
Ridiculous.
You could have somebody sucking the beer out of the piñata,
Yeah.
out of the paper mache, right?
Somebody's just gonna rush the pinata.
I have a couple friends that would do it.
Oh,
That's
terrible.
hilarious.
We are Marines. We've done far worse.
Go all in.
Fair enough. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I still think I like the,
Frambuesa.
yes,
I-
I think that one's my
that's-
favorite.
Thank you very much. Thanks for a great day. Thanks for the collab. Thanks for saying yes. Thanks for sampling us on these great beers. I can't wait. I really can't wait for our collaboration. So by the time this airs, it'll be within a week or two of our anniversary.
sweet.
So
Little build up there, huh?
yeah,
Yes.
right. So
Make y'all anticipate.
a little teaser there. I'm super excited. I'm not going to reveal the name right now. A, because it's really hard to say. B, because I want to just, yeah. Mostly because it's hard to say.
And it's not in
Same.
Spanish either.
It's
So,
not in Spanish.
yeah.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is not.
But it's still hard to
But,
say.
if you know the song by Eiffel 65, that'll be. There you go.
Okay.
There's the teaser.
There's the teaser.
I love
So
that.
thank you so much. Thanks for housing us, treating us
Thanks for coming. Thanks
like
for
one of
coming.
your brothers. Thank you.
I love it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Slate.
Salud.